The sun shimmered on the water. The morning Claire hugged her daughter goodbye. 16-year-old Emily was beaming, her suitcase rolling behind her, her cruise ticket clutched, like a golden invitation to freedom. It was a school reward trip. 7 days across the Caribbean with 10 classmates and 2 trusted teachers. Claire, a single mother and high school nurse, had worked overtime to make it possible. "I'll send photos every day, Mom," Emily said, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. Claire laughed, kissed her cheek, and whispered, "Have fun, baby, be safe." That was the last time she saw her. The first 3 days, the messages came. A selfie on the deck, another of her holding a coconut drink, and then a group picture under a pink sunset. Claire smiled at everyone until they stopped. By day 4, silence. Claire told herself it was poor reception. By day 5, she called the school. They reassured her the group was fine. Day 6, they said Emily probably lost her charger. But when the cruise ship returned on day 8, Emily was not among the students who stepped off. Panic swept through Claire's body like a tidal wave. The school chaperones looked confused. The cruise staff claimed Emily was seen on board on day 3, but there were no logs of her disembarking at any island, and no footage of her past the 3rd day. Her luggage was never found. The police said she may have jumped. The media speculated about suicide, or that she'd run off with someone. But Claire knew her daughter. Emily would never leave her like that. Not without a goodbye. Not without a reason. 2 years passed. Claire quit her job, moved out of their old home, and spiraled into a quiet existence filled with unanswered questions. The world moved on. People stopped asking about Emily. Then one rainy Tuesday, someone knocked on her door. A man in his early 40s stood there, soaked and trembling, holding a faded manila envelope. He didn't speak at first, just looked at her with guilt in his eyes. "I think you need to see this," he said. Claire's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph, a clear shot of Emily, standing on a pier, in the same outfit she wore the day she left, smiling and waving, but not at the cruise ship. She was waving at someone on land, and behind her, not the ocean. The photo was dated 2 hours after the ship was supposed to depart. Claire's knees gave out. She sat on the floor, clutching the photo, staring into her daughter's eyes. She never got on that ship. The man sat quietly in her living room, watching her unravel. "I work security at the port," he finally said. "That day, I was paid to look the other way." A man in a dark uniform escorted your daughter back into a black van. She looked scared. Claire's heart was pounding. "Why didn't you come forward?" He looked down. "I was told she was in some kind of danger, that it was a witness protection thing. But then, I saw her face on a missing poster last week, and I knew I'd been lied to." Claire stared at him, her voice a whisper. "Who took her?" The man's eyes flicked to the window. "That's the thing, I think she knew him. She called him Uncle Dave." Claire froze. She had no brother. Emily had no uncle. But Claire did have a friend. A childhood friend she cut out of her life 16 years ago. A man who once said, "If you ever have a daughter, I'd protect her like my own." And now, her daughter had vanished. Not on the sea, but right there on the shore. Claire couldn't breathe. The room spun as the name echoed in her mind. Dave Whitmore. She hadn't spoken that name in almost 2 decades. Not since the night he showed up drunk on her porch, begging for another chance. Back then, he was her closest friend, until he crossed the line. She'd filed a police report, got a restraining order, moved to a new town. He vanished, or so she thought. The man across from her looked scared now. "I shouldn't have come, they said if I ever talked." Claire grabbed his arm. "Where is she? What else do you know?" He swallowed hard. "They used an old warehouse near Dock 7. I followed the van once, but I didn't dare get close." Claire's heart cracked open. Her daughter had been so close, just streets away. Not lost at sea, not a mystery on a manifest. She'd been taken. That night, Claire sat on her bed, photo in hand, a new fire in her chest. She wasn't going to cry anymore. She was going to fight. She dusted off an old box from her closet, her before box. Inside were photos, letters, and court papers with Dave's name on them. She called a private investigator the next morning. His name was Marcus Ray, ex-cop, good reputation, a man who believed in gut instincts, and hers were screaming. Marcus listened to the story. When she showed him the photo, his face tightened. "I've seen her," he whispered, "not in person, but in a photo sent to someone else." Claire's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" She was in the background of a surveillance shot, in a diner 2 towns over, sitting alone, looking drugged. The photo was grainy, but Claire recognized her baby immediately. Same eyes, same locket around her neck. Marcus traced the image to a camera, across from a rural diner on the edge of Elm Creek, a place no one passed through, unless they had a reason. "I've been watching that area," Marcus said. "People disappear there." Claire's hands clenched. "Then that's where we start." But before they could leave, her phone buzzed. A private number. She answered, silence. Then a deep voice whispered, "Stop looking, Claire, or you'll lose her again. This time for good." The call ended. Claire sat still, shaking. Marcus looked at her. "You were right. This goes deeper than anyone thought." They drove to Elm Creek before dawn. The roads narrowed, the trees thickened, and every mile felt like a descent into something darker. The diner was closed when they arrived, but Marcus spotted the security camera that caught Emily in the photo. He knocked on the back door, flashing an old badge he still carried. A tired-looking woman answered. "Recognize this girl?" Marcus asked, showing Emily's picture. The woman frowned. "Yeah, she was here. Looked scared, she sat alone. Barely touched her food. Then a guy came and walked her out." "What guy?" Claire whispered. The woman shivered. "Tall, thin. Wore gloves, called her Hope." Claire gasped. That was Emily's middle name, a name only family knew. And suddenly, the stranger's words echoed in her mind again. "Uncle Dave." Claire turned to Marcus. "He renamed her. He's trying to erase who she is." Marcus nodded slowly. "And now, we have to find her, before there's nothing left to find." The woman at the diner hesitated, then leaned closer. "There's a trailer park 2 miles down Route 11. Folks say weird things happen out there. Screams at night, black vans. That girl, she looked like someone who didn't get to choose where she slept." Claire clutched Marcus's arm. "Take me there now." They drove in silence. Every bump in the road rattled Claire's bones. The fog was thick now, wrapping the forest in a cold silence, like even the trees knew to stay quiet. The trailer park appeared like a ghost town, dented metal homes, broken porch lights, and stray dogs that looked half-starved. Marcus pulled the car to a stop. "Stay close to me." They knocked on 3 doors before someone answered. A boy, maybe 10. Shirtless, barefoot, with frightened eyes. Claire knelt down. "Sweetheart, have you seen a girl? She's about my height. Long brown hair. Her name is Emily. But someone might be calling her Hope." The boy blinked. Then he pointed to the farthest trailer, rusted, with its windows boarded up. "She cries. At night, but she don't talk." Claire stood, every hair on her neck rising. "She's here." Marcus knocked first. No answer. He knocked again, louder. Then the door opened an inch. A chain rattled. A shadow moved behind it. Then a voice, weak, trembling. "Is it safe?" Claire nearly collapsed. "Emily." The chain slid. The door creaked open. And there she was. Thin, pale, eyes too wide for a girl her age. Her hair was matted, her lips dry. But it was Emily, her daughter. She stared for a long moment, then whispered, "Mom." Claire rushed forward, pulling her into her arms. The sobs came in waves. "I didn't think you'd come," Emily wept. "He said you forgot me." Claire held her tighter. "Never, never, baby." But before she could say more, Marcus pulled his gun. "Claire, get back, we're not alone." From behind the trailer, a figure stepped out of the trees. Tall, thin, black gloves, and a voice that twisted Claire's stomach into knots. "She wasn't supposed to remember you." Claire turned slowly, shielding Emily with her body. The man's voice was unmistakable, smooth, cold, like a memory dipped in ice. He stepped into the light, older now but still carrying that quiet arrogance. The same eyes that once smiled at Claire now stared with something twisted, ownership. "She was mine to protect," he said softly, as if explaining a favor gone wrong. "You abandoned me, Claire. Took away the only family I ever had." Marcus raised his gun. "Don't move." Dave smirked, still playing hero. "Huh, you have no idea what I've done to keep her hidden. To keep her safe. The world you live in, it would have swallowed her whole." Claire's voice shook with fury. "You drugged her, you locked her away. That's not protection, that's a prison." Emily clung tighter to Claire, tears soaking her sweater. "He told me you died. Mom, that there was a fire. He said I was alone now." Claire's breath hitched. Every lie Dave told had carved scars deeper than she could see. Marcus moved forward. "Step away now." Dave's eyes darkened. "You shouldn't have come looking." Then he lunged. It happened fast, a flash of movement, a shot fired. Dave collapsed, clutching his leg. Groaning in pain, Marcus kept his gun steady. "Stay down," he barked. Emily screamed and hid her face. Claire pulled her close, rocking her like she used to when she had bad dreams. Only this time, the nightmare was real. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone in the trailer park had called them. Claire looked at Marcus. "You okay?" He nodded. "I've seen worse." Then, softer, "But she hasn't. Let's get her out of here." As officers stormed the scene, Marcus handed over the photo. Claire gave her statement, and Dave was loaded into the back of an ambulance, still muttering nonsense about saving her from the world. But none of it mattered. Claire had her daughter back, because as they drove away that night, Emily sat silently in the backseat, staring out the window, lips pressed shut. And Claire knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Emily had secrets now, things she'd seen, things she hadn't yet said. And deep down, Claire feared the worst, that the real story of what happened to her daughter was far darker than anything she was ready to hear. The car was quiet on the way back to town. The radio was off. The rain tapped gently on the windshield. Claire kept glancing at the rearview mirror, watching her daughter, her sweet Emily, staring blankly at the passing trees. Marcus drove, one hand on the wheel, his eyes scanning every road sign, every car behind them. Emily hadn't spoken since they left the trailer park. Not a word, not a sound, just silence. Claire finally broke it. "Sweetheart, do you want to talk?" Emily didn't move. Then slowly, she reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It looked old, crumpled, stained with something brown. She passed it forward to Claire without a word. Claire opened it, her hands shaking. It was a list, written in shaky, childlike handwriting. "Don't talk unless told to. Smile when visitors come. Never use real name. Forget the beach. Forget the cruise. Forget her. If I run, they will find me." Claire felt the air rush out of her lungs. Her eyes stung. "Emily, who made you write this?" Emily finally looked up, her voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't just him, Mom." Claire froze. "What do you mean?" Emily looked at Marcus, then out the window again. "There was a woman, she wore a white coat. She said they were helping me, that my mind was broken, that you didn't exist anymore." Claire's heart pounded. A woman, a facility. Marcus's voice was calm but firm. "Do you remember where she was, what it looked like?" Emily closed her eyes. It was cold. Gray walls, no windows, and they gave us numbers. "Not names," Claire gasped. "Us." Emily nodded slowly. "There were other girls, Mom, lots of them." The list trembled in Claire's hand. Her daughter had been part of something bigger. A system. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was organized, planned, hidden. Marcus looked grim. "Sounds like a trafficking ring disguised as a treatment center. I've heard whispers, clinics that aren't real clinics, run by people who erase identities." Claire turned around in her seat. "Emily, can you draw it? Even the smallest detail, a logo, a uniform." Emily thought for a moment, then nodded. They pulled into a motel an hour out of town. Marcus booked 2 rooms under fake names. They didn't know who was watching now. In the dim light of the motel lamp, Emily began to draw. Claire sat beside her, silent, watching the image form. A white door with a red number, a strange circular symbol, and finally a name. Emily wrote it slowly, each letter like a dagger. "Hollow Pines." Marcus stared at it, his jaw clenched. "I know that name." Claire whispered, "Where is it?" Marcus looked up, his voice low. 3 states away, deep in the woods. Shut down 5 years ago, or so they claimed. Claire turned to Emily. "Is that where they kept you?" Emily nodded. "That's where the others still are." Claire gripped her daughter's hand. "Then we're going to get them out." The room went silent again, but this time it was a different silence, no longer filled with fear, but purpose. Claire sat upright, eyes locked on the name Emily had written. Hollow Pines. Marcus stood up, pacing the floor. "I tried looking into Hollow Pines years ago. Supposed to be a youth therapy retreat, funded by private donors. Shut down after an abuse complaint, but no arrests were made. The report disappeared in less than a month." Claire's voice trembled with rage. "And now they're back, still hiding, still hurting kids." Emily whispered, "Not everyone makes it out, Mom." Claire turned stunned. "What do you mean?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "There was a girl named Leela. She tried to escape. She told me she remembered her mom's voice. They found her near the fence. After that, no one else tried." Marcus clenched his fists. "We need evidence. Hard proof. We can't just walk in there." Claire's jaw tightened. "Then we find someone who can." By morning, they were on the road again. Emily slept in the backseat, curled into herself. Claire sat up front with Marcus, studying a folder he had compiled from years of unofficial leads. Satellite images, old articles, whispers on deep web forums, and one lead stood out. A man named Walter Green, a former maintenance worker at Hollow Pines. He disappeared when the place shut down. Rumor had it he'd moved off-grid, scared for his life. "Can we find him?" Claire asked. Marcus nodded. "If he's alive, I'll get us there." 2 days later, they arrived at a broken-down cabin in the Smoky Mountains. There were no signs, no mailbox, just a rusted chain on a gate, and a barking dog from inside. Marcus knocked, gun holstered but ready. An old man opened the door, gray hair, beard to his chest, eyes wary. "I don't want trouble," he growled. "I told everything once, and no one listened." Marcus pulled out the photo of Hollow Pines logo Emily had drawn. "We're listening now." Walter stared at the image for a long moment. Then quietly, he stepped aside. Inside the cabin, the air smelled of wood smoke and coffee. The walls were lined with papers, photos, maps, names. "You're not the first to come," Walter said, "but you might be the last who will live through it." Claire showed him Emily's drawing. "My daughter was in that place. We think it's still operating, underground. Walter sat slowly. They call it shut down. But all they did was move underground. They used the woods, old tunnels. The place was never about therapy. It was a farm. For broken children. Sold to people who wanted ghosts. Kids with no trace. Claire felt sick. How do we stop it? Walter's eyes darkened. You don't. Not unless you bring fire and backup. He slid a dusty notebook across the table. Inside were codes, floor plans, even names of staff, some still active. One name was circled in red. Dr. Myra Kelly's. Emily's face went pale. She's the woman in the white coat. Claire whispered. Then she's the one who broke you. Walter looked at them both. You want in? I can get you there. Marcus nodded. We don't want in. Claire's voice was afire. We want every last child out. They waited until the moon was high, and the sky turned to steel. Walter knew the forest by heart, every hidden trail, every blind spot in the broken security systems. With Emily's memory, Marcus's tactics, and Claire's resolve, they were no longer just searching. They were coming to break the silence. It took 2 days of camping in the woods, crawling through old service tunnels, and bypassing wired fences. Hollow Pines, thought to be shut down, still pulsed with quiet life. Armed men guarded disguised doors hidden behind brush. Faint lights flickered behind concrete walls underground. Claire gripped the photo of Emily, taken the day she left for the cruise. The lie that started it all. The lie that nearly cost her everything. But now, she was standing just yards from the building where her daughter had been imprisoned, and the other children still were. Inside Hollow Pines, they moved fast. Marcus and Walter handled the front. Claire and Emily slipped through a side corridor. Emily recognized, her hands shaking, her voice low, guiding them by memory. They reached the main dormitory. 6 children, all under 15. Eyes wide, skin pale, not a sound. Claire whispered gently, we're here to take you home. One girl looked up. You're real. Emily knelt beside her. I used to sleep in that bed. We made it out, you will too. But alarms rang before they could move. Footsteps thundered, then flashing red lights and loud voices outside. FBI, SWAT, armed rescue. Marcus had sent the location hours before. This was never just a rescue. It was an exposure, a takedown. Outside Hollow Pines, Dr. Myra Kelly's was handcuffed at the tree line, her white coat stained with mud and sweat. You have no idea what you've undone. She hissed, we were giving them purpose. Claire stood before her, holding Emily's hand. You gave them nightmares, and now we're giving them freedom. 6 months later, Hollow Pines was shut down permanently, this time for good. Names were revealed. Trials followed, headlines raged. Emily began to speak again, slowly, gently, with Claire beside her, with therapy, with safety. She joined a program that helped other survivors learn art, write their stories, reclaim their voices. One day, she stood in front of a crowd and read a poem she'd written. They told me the sea took me, but the truth was quieter, and darker, and closer to home. But she found me, my mother who never stopped looking. And now, I'm learning how to live again. Claire cried, not out of pain anymore but pride. Because she didn't just get her daughter back. She helped bring all of them back, and in doing so, she turned the loudest silence into the beginning of 1,000 healing voices.